Have you ever stopped to think about the phone in your hand or the coffee mug on your desk? I mean, how did it actually get to you from a factory that might be thousands of miles away? The answer is hiding in plain sight, in the huge, complex, and honestly, surprisingly old-school world of ocean freight. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and unlock how global trade really gets done. So let's start at the very beginning. Picture this. A factory has just finished making a whole shipping container full of brand new headphones. The thing is, the person who bought them is on a totally different continent. So how in the world do you get all those boxes from point A all the way to point B? What are the steps to get that container across an ocean and into a local warehouse? Well, as you're about to see, it involves a whole cast of characters, a complex dance of logistics, and a surprising amount of paper. Yeah, you heard that right. In our super high-tech digital world, trillions of dollars in global trade still hinge on a single, physical piece of paper. This one document is basically the key that unlocks the entire system, and that's exactly what we're diving into today. Okay, first things first. We need to get our heads around the fundamental problem of international trade. At its core, it's a transaction between total strangers. How do you possibly trust someone you've never met and probably never will meet with your valuable goods or a whole lot of your money? It really boils down to this classic standoff. The seller, right, the exporter, they want to be 100% sure they're getting paid before they watch their products sail off into the sunset. But the buyer, the importer, they want to have the goods, or at least control of them, before they send a huge chunk of cash flying across the globe. So, how do you solve this? Well, the solution is to bring in a whole crew of trusted middlemen. Each one has a very specific job to do to bridge that gap of trust. Of course, you've got the buyer and seller, but you also need customs brokers to handle all the tricky regulations, banks to make sure the money is safe, and the shipping company, the carrier, to actually move the stuff. It's a logistical ballet, really. So let's follow our headphones as they start their big trip. Before that container can even get near a ship, there's a critical flow of information that has to happen first to clear the way. It all kicks off with paperwork. The seller gets an invoice to a customs broker who then files all the official export documents. Now here's the magic moment. The government gives its approval and sends a digital cargo release message. That one message, that little blip of data, is the green light for both the port and the shipping line. It tells them, yep, it's legal, you can load this container. Without that message, those headphones are going nowhere. Okay, once the cargo is loaded and safely on board, the shipping company issues what is, without a doubt, the most important document in this entire process. It's called the Bill of Lading, and you can pretty much think of it as the golden ticket of global trade. So what is a Bill of Lading, or a BL for short? Well, on the surface, it looks like a receipt from the shipping company, a contract to move the goods, but its real power, its most critical function, is what makes the whole world of trade even possible. And here is the absolute key idea. The Bill of Lading isn't just a contract. It is legal proof of ownership. Let that sink in. That physical piece of paper legally is the cargo. Whoever holds the original document has the exclusive right to claim those headphones, period. The best way to think about it is like this. A grocery receipt proves you paid for your milk, but the deed to a house proves you own the house. The Bill of Lading is the deed to that entire container of headphones, and that right there is how you solve the trust problem between the buyer and seller. This is where the bank steps in to make it all work. The seller gives the Bill of Lading, the deed, remember, to their bank, and boom, they get paid right away. On the other side of the world, the buyer has to pay their bank to get their hands on that same document. It's basically like using a credit card. The bank pays the store for you, and then you pay the bank. It's a super secure way to swap the money for the deed to the goods. All right, let's hit fast forward. The ship has crossed the ocean, it's arrived at the destination port, the buyer has paid up, and now they have that golden ticket, the Bill of Lading, in their hands. So you're probably thinking, awesome, the buyer has the deed. Why can't they just waltz over to the port with the BL and grab their container? And you know what? That is a perfectly logical question. But there's one more crucial step, a little twist in the story. The key here is jurisdiction, the shipping line's responsibility, and the power of that Bill of Lading. It covers the journey on the sea. It ends once the container is off the ship. So to take control of the goods on land, out of the port warehouse, the buyer needs a different key for a different lock. That new key is called a delivery order. So we are on the home stretch. The buyer has the proof of ownership, the goods are sitting there waiting in a local warehouse. It's finally time to bring them together. This is the final handoff. The buyer physically goes to the shipping company's local office and they trade the bill of lading, the deed for the sea journey, for a delivery order. This new piece of paper is the instruction slip for the warehouse. Once they show up with that and pay any local storage fees, the headphones are finally theirs, journey complete. So if you zoom out and look at the whole thing, you can see 3 separate journeys that have to be perfectly synchronized. You've got the flow of information, like that customs message giving the green light. You've got the flow of legal documents, where ownership passes from the bill of lading to the delivery order. And of course, you have the physical flow of the goods themselves. For any of this to work, all 3 have to line up perfectly. You know, this entire global system, a system built over centuries, still hinges on people passing physical pieces of paper back and forth. It really leaves us with a huge question for our digital age. How much longer can this paper-based handshake last? And what's it going to take to finally create a truly digital deed for all the world's goods?